Thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Betty Lamar, coming to you live from the Bluff City. Conversations is weekly wall-to-wall talk about all things Memphis and the Mid-South. Conversations with Betty include people just like you, living on the Bluff, doing what you do to uplift the city of Memphis. And now, your host, Betty Lamar.
Welcome back. Again, this is Let's Talk 901, and I am your host, Betty Lamar. I am so excited today to be interviewing a commercial airline pilot. That happens to be, in full disclosure, my nephew. So obviously I'm very proud to have him with me today. Well, hello, Darnell. How are you?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here, Auntie.
Well, good. I'm glad to have you here. You know, I have to say this. I will never forget the day, I was a flight attendant, so this is going to be a good conversation about aviation today. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget when you called me and you asked me about being a flight attendant. And I went like, huh? No, you don't want to be a flight attendant. You want to be in a flight deck. And I'm going to be honest, at that moment, Darnell, I didn't know if you were even capable. I didn't even know if you had the expertise. I didn't even know that you wanted to be a pilot. So let's go there. How did we get here? First of all, introduce yourself to our viewers so they'll know who Darnell Walker is. And take them to how we got here.
Darnell Walker, native of Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Proud graduate of Whitehaven High School, one of the best high schools in Memphis. We got to talk about it. That's what everybody say, but I remember doing some research, and they said Whitehaven was known to be one of the wealthiest and most educated neighborhoods, black neighborhoods in the state of Tennessee.
That's true.
So, with that being said, we
that
kind
being
of
said, now you're a pilot.
Dirt off our shoulders.
There you go. Now you're a pilot.
But so I graduated from Whitehaven and marched in the band at Whitehaven High School, and went to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff on a band scholarship.
All right.
How we got to that conversation, I guess we got a lot to talk about today.
We do.
So I guess once we went there, I knew I wanted to be a pilot. And I was like, I just want to get a taste for aviation. I tried to go to flight school several different times.
Okay.
And in the whole process, I was like, I just want to get in aviation to see what it's like. So I applied to Delta Airlines. I had a couple of friends that said they did it. They were good at trying to hire college graduates. So I was like, Auntie, I'm going to try to apply over here to Delta so I can just get in here and see what the life is like as an aviator.
All right.
So that's how we got there. And I was like, let me try this. And them folks told me no. It hurt my feelings so badly.
But you didn't give up.
I didn't. I wasn't giving up. Like I say, that was just to me considered to be a stepping stone to get me where we are today. And like I say, it worked out because I guess what the process was there, I was applying for a loan to go to flight school.
Okay.
And I applied. The loan denied me. They was like, you find you a co-signer? I'm like, ugh. No, ain't nobody gonna sign off on this.
For
they
you
was
to
like,
fly.
what are you
They don't even
talking
know
about?
if you know how to fly.
Yeah, folks like, you don't want to ask nobody to sign off on money like that. You talking about some big money.
To be a pilot looking like you.
Yeah,
3%.
folks is like,
One of the 3%.
We don't know nothing about that. You can't get nobody to invest in stuff like that too quick. So I wasn't even finna ask nobody. So I was like, well, let me just get up and try to apply to Delta to see what the flight attendant life is like. And they still told me no, so I still had to keep pushing.
Yeah, because it was meant for you to be in the flight deck. I always say, because when you contacted me that day, I was like, because I should be in the flight deck. Mm-hmm. And I was telling you, I couldn't wait for one of the pilots to have to use the bathroom, right?
Right.
Because then the flight attendant have to go into the flight deck, strap in, So I was like, ooh. And it was like the best view in the house. Because when you're on the plane, you just, in the, what you call it? The fuselage? Okay, you just seeing out the window. Mm-hmm. But when you're in the flight deck, it's like to me, it was like a big fish bowl.
The best office view. I don't think anybody can tell you they got a better office view.
And don't let it be thundering and lightning. Oh my God, it was so pretty. You see this lightning.
Fireworks all throughout the sky.
Yeah, they would call me up there, Elizabeth, come to a flight deck. And they would say, I know you want to see. Because I'm like, they thought I was weird, I guess. And boy, that lightning. And Darnell, let me say this. I remember times when people will be really afraid, especially turbulence. So I'll never forget this pretty lady. She was so pretty. She was sitting next to this guy, and then we had some bad turbulence. And she's a pretty blonde lady, just know she had all this style going on. Boy, when that turbulence started.
It changes everything.
At what point in your life did you know that you wanted to be a pilot? And what made you want to be a pilot? Was it looking at the planes flying in the sky? Because why?
When I graduated from high school, starting in junior high school, I was in a band. I got in the band in 7th grade.
Okay.
And when I got there, they was like, oh, this is a way for you to go to college. And when we were in school, they always told us, have goals, have goals.
Yes.
What is your goal? My only goal then, when I got in junior high school and they were saying, oh, we have different people come back to our alma mater, and they were in the band at Tennessee State and other schools, they was like, this is a good way to get scholarship money. Oh. I was like, I'm going to college. And this is the only way I know to get there. I ain't the smartest, but I'm going to college. So I stuck with the band. I went to every performance. I went and did every parade, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. Later on, my mama said, find you a job that you would love going to, that it won't be considered work. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to college, I'm going to college, I'm going to college. That was already implanted in my head when I was in like 7th and 8th grade.
That's at Whitehaven, huh?
Yeah, and it started there. But in the midst of all of that, right before my senior year, I got this random letter in the mail. It says, you're accepted to aviation school. I said, nope, I can't go to aviation school. I can't do it. I said, I'm going to college. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to college. I'm going to be on this band scholarship. I can't miss summer band because it's going to mess up my scholarship opportunity. Okay. They won't let me go. So I got my offer to the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. That was one of my top picks because we would always travel. We went to St. Louis, Missouri for the Gateway Classic. And it was the Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Hampton.
Okay.
And I was always big on doing the different band competitions. We would be in Memphis, going to the Southern Heritage Classic, and I saw Jackson and Tennessee State. So when I went to St. Louis, and we was in that dome where the Rams played, the St. Louis Rams, and I saw Pine Bluff on the field, I was like, they got the same potential as, Jackson State, Tennessee State. I like this atmosphere. I said, I can see myself going here. I auditioned, I made it, but keep in mind, the only goal I had was to go to college and to graduate.
Okay.
So I went through that whole process. I'm getting ready to graduate, and it came, that letter hit me in the back of my head. Aviation. So I put it on the back burner and didn't think nothing of it. And later on, when it was time to graduate, I started teaching. I became a store manager, then I started teaching. But when I was a store manager, it hit me again. Aviation school. And I'm like, I mean, I know I went to school to teach. I'm enjoying teaching. Well, I wasn't teaching at the time. I was working as a store manager. And I was like, yeah, this just ain't it. This is not what I went to school for.
Aviation.
And I said, well, let me try education. But aviation had already hit me. And so right after I got done with store management, I applied for the loan to flight school the very first time.
Okay.
After I applied the first time, they was like, nope, your credit score ain't good enough.
And you're a kid.
And I'm like, man, shoot, you find somebody that's gonna sign off? I'm like, I can't find nobody to sign off. I wouldn't even ask nobody to sign off on this.
I was hoping you were gonna give up.
Right. So then I was like, you know what? Let me go and teach. That's what I went to school for. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of teaching, I was like, I'm loving it. I'm loving working with these kids. I was an elementary school teacher at West Haven Elementary in my neighborhood. I was the biggest kid in the classroom.
I know.
In the school, let me say that. A lot of times they would look up and they'd be like, where Mr. Walker? I don't win, and my mama would make me quiches. Sometime I go take all the staff quiches. I go pick up donuts. I'd be running down the halls. Kids would be chasing me. I feel like Justin Bieber from time to time. Teacher be like, they'd be mad I wasn't in my room when I was supposed to be. They call in the principal office. We sit here waiting to take our kids to music. The principal just look up at me with a donut in his mouth like, yeah, dog, go back to your room. Or they'll call me one time. I remember one time they called me. They was like, they hungry. I'm hungry. I had to go send the principal down there to go watch my kids. I'm finna go pick y'all up some food. I'll be right back in a minute. I'm trying to get ready for a program, and it was so much. I'm like, y'all just give me time, So it was a lot, but I loved it.
Right.
I applied for that loan after probably the second part, probably like March of the school year. Everybody get out of school in May. And they said, you're accepted.
Oh.
I was like, oh.
It was your time.
It was my time. But the thing was,
oh, Lord,
my college journey was the biggest part in helping.
Okay.
At that age, we really don't know how important credit is.
Yes.
So I was paying my student loans, and I was paying it when I first applied.
Okay.
But at this point, I was working a decent job. I didn't have to worry about a mortgage or nothing like that. I was paying double the amount on my student loans. I was like, I'm gonna go and just knock this out. Not knowing that was gonna help me on this journey.
That's right.
And when they asked me that second time after I applied, since I was doing so well on my student loans, I was able to get that loan to go to flight school and do it on my own. So I was like, you know what, this is my last year teaching. And it was a hard decision because, of course, as a teacher, I loved it.
Yeah.
But it came May, and I was like, well, I went to an accelerated program. I went to ATP flight school.
Okay. ATP?
ATP.
Is that local?
Airline Transportation.
Okay.
So they have actually 32 campuses all across the world at that point.
Okay.
And it was an accelerated program, a 6-month program at that. So I was like, okay, how can I work this? And I was like, God, this has to be my time.
Yeah.
If I start now, it's May. Still as a teacher, I'll still be getting a paycheck all the way up to August.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I get this done, I'm like, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. I'll be through by November, December. And I was like, I'll only be 3 months without a paycheck. I was like, that'll be enough money where I can put all of this up. I can save my money, barely try to make sure I can budget myself. And then I can make sure I got my food taken care of. I can make sure my housing is taken care of. Because I went to school in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what age were you then to have all this discipline?
Why you trying to tell me my age?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think I was probably getting ready to touch 30. So I'm going to say about 28 to 30.
Really?
At this point, because I was doing store management for a few years, and I was on my second year of teaching. To be honest, I stayed in college a little longer. Everybody in my family talk about me about it. But again, that was the only goal I had. I just wanted to go to college. I knew I was going to graduate.
I call you a professional student.
I was definitely a professional student.
He's a professional student.
I stayed myself down there. They had me working for the recruitment office when I was in college. And I did so much that college
I really
taught
thought
me.
you was going to be a professor, honestly, because I know you enjoyed school so much and education. But let me ask you this. What kind of, for lack of a better word, what kind of brain does a person have to have or to be a pilot? Because, of course, I'm in the flight deck. And I'm looking at all the instruments. And I'm like, how in the world? How long does, how do y'all know what all that stuff is? Like terrain, pull up. Because when you all go through your, what you call it, check.
Our different training processes.
Yeah.
Simulations.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Let's call it that. Yeah.
Okay. So is it a math thing or is it, because you all have to know the weather? Because the pilots would even tell me as a flight attendant, they'll show me on the little thing there, they're going to go this way or because they got to go around that because, they had to be meteorologists as well.
It's so much. To be honest with you, I hated flying, believe it or not. I hated flying. When I was in college, I remember we went on trips and we would be in the airplane, and the airplane would drop. I'd be like, oh my gosh, are we getting ready to fall out the sky? I'm man, so I would get to a destination and
That's the fun part.
That's what to you it was, but for me it wasn't. I'm like, you in this plane and you traveling, and I get to somewhere. I remember we took a trip to Canada. I was in this play-in school. And I could never really relax because I was like, I still got to get back home. All this turbulent, you getting these bumps and it's making you fall.
Yeah, cool.
So it was difficult for me because I didn't understand it.
Oh, okay.
But the thing about me when you say a mind, going to flight school was about conquering a fear. And
okay.
It was a good thing. And again, I kept in mind, my mom always said, find you something that you love doing.
Yes, true.
When I was in high school, I loved being in the band because we always went on these trips.
And you are an entertainer about it at heart anyway.
I loved it. So we was always on these trips. We were going to St. Louis. We were going to Texas. Every weekend we was going somewhere.
Well, you're doing the same thing now when you're flying.
So
stay gone.
That's the thing.
Even when he's not flying as a pilot, he's still on the plane somewhere.
I'm always gone. So
always
that was
somewhere
the thing.
having a good time. I'm like, now he's really enjoying.
I really
But I'm going
did.
to tell you, and we're going to take a break and we're going to come back. But I'm going to tell you what I missed the most when I was a flight attendant, just being a female, because you guys really just could just do it, right? Okay, but anyway, we'll be right back with more with Darnell Walker, commercial airline pilot.
Have you ever thought about a talk show about HR? Well, it's here. I'm Dr. Deneen. The show's content will demonstrate the importance of HR in the workplace and how vital the voice of HR is to successful organizations. The show will spotlight HR professionals on every level with a focus on learning more about the people behind the profession. It's upbeat, it's fun, and it has informative episodes. The show will advance the HR profession by assisting HR professionals and organizations stay abreast of the most relevant and compliance-based information important to the workplace today. This is HR TV. I'm Dr. Deneen Lester, and I want to talk HR with you.
Welcome back. You're watching Let's Talk 901. It's all about Memphis, area code 901. And joining me today is Darnell Walker, commercial airline pilot. And we're having a conversation about aviation. My nephew is a pilot. And I guess in my heart, I am still a flight attendant. I don't think it ever go away, right?
Be glad to get on a plane and go somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Darnell, let's talk about this because now, we hear all the time something is happening in the sky. And I expressed to you that as a flight attendant, every now and then, because to me it's sort of boring, you're flying, you're just up there, you're flying. So every now and then, something might pop off, right? And they sort of get you awake, wake you up, like, whoa, okay, this is real. So can you think of a time that you were flying that you had an emergency?
I guess so. One
guess
thing
so.
about,
Okay.
I can
I
say
don't know.
we really haven't had any real emergencies. But one thing in the aviation field, whenever we're in training, one thing about our plane, they give you a type rating. And that type rating, I fly an Embraer 175. It's
Okay.
a 76-seat passenger airplane.
Okay.
But the way that it's introduced, you have to know the airplane's anatomy, the inside and out.
Yeah.
From knowing the weight of the airplane, from knowing how high the airplane can fly, knowing how long the airplane fly, knowing the systems, just like you would know your body. How many hydraulic pumps we got, how many fuel pumps, gas pumps. And that's important because if you ever get into a situation where you can have a fuel pump malfunction, one to fail, what do you do?
Engine fail.
If an engine fails, what do you do?
Both of them fail.
I guess in my emergency situation, we had a passenger who was on our plane, and they stopped breathing or something like that. I can't even say what it was, but it was an emergency.
Would you pull over at the hospital?
And that's the crazy part, So it's about
You can't pull over.
what can you do? So we had just taken off, and we were loaded with gas, maximum amount of gas. So with that being said, knowing that we just took off, we full of gas. With that being said, you take off with this gas.
Yeah.
Now how can we burn this gas off to get on the ground without damaging the airplane?
That's right.
But we got to get an emergency to get this person on the ground. So how do you sacrifice? What do you do? So it's about knowing the plane, knowing how much weight we can lose. So we were getting ready to land. We took off. I think we were in like LaGuardia. And we were headed to Houston. We had just taken off, got to Cincinnati. We was talking to the different people. They got these different frequencies. We talked to the different dispatchers. We talked to emergency professionals. And the person in the back was like, they just not gonna make it.
Okay.
So we was
So
like,
y'all just kept flying?
no, we had to go, take off. We had to stop our plane. We landed in Cincinnati, but we were too heavy. So it was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And immediately we started throwing the landing gear down to create drag that slows the airplane down, but that also burns the gas quicker. We cutting on our APU.
Everything.
APU is it burns gas. We starting to introduce flaps. We doing whatever we can to burn out this gas. And when we landed, we did the calculations. It was perfect. We were 2 pounds from being landing max weight. Whew. So it was a good thing. Yeah. We got the passenger off. The airplane did not need inspection. Okay. We was able to add a little bit more gas.
And take off.
We took off and went on to our destination. That was the closest thing to it, I guess. Well, you like the storm stuff. I had plenty of those situations, going through those storms and trying to land. Ooh.
Okay, well, my emergencies. I think the first one was we was flying. We just left, just departed Memphis, heading to Chicago.
Yeah.
O'Hare. And so, I had just got my legality card. Also, we know, because we were trained, that the critical phase
of flight.
Takeoff, landing. So we already, and stir cockpit, all this stuff. So we already knew that normally once you get up and bing, bing, it let you know, okay, you're cool. No worries, we didn't crash, okay, we're gone. So then you get your galley card out, so that's when everybody sort of kicked back. So all of a sudden, the landing gear kicked out. I knew the landing gear had no reason. So they wasn't saying anything in the flight deck, but because you have to have situational awareness, and my critical thinking said, now, okay, they haven't binged me, but that means I know that landing gear is not supposed to be come out when you halfway 30 minutes into the flight.
Yeah.
So I'm backing up with my cart, but Darnell, this was the worst part. Now I'm knowing we may be getting ready to go down. They was upset about not getting their little cookie. Because, I didn't make it to the back.
Right.
I'm trying to strap it.
I'm trying to get this money for this cookie.
Yeah, I'm like, look, hey, y'all better strap in.
Right.
Because, because they still hadn't binged me to tell me what was going on, but they knew me well enough to know I'm back there taking care of business.
Right.
But I'm thinking about my life too. So in emergencies, you learn a lot, but because I guess I always say I've never been the type person that's like, I guess you would say afraid to die, if you will. To me, it was an adventure, the turbulence, everything. But before we wind this up, because we can talk about aviation all day long, but I want to say this to you, Darnell. I am very proud of you. I'm very proud of your accomplishments.
Thank you.
And going back real quickly, and then I'm going to let you wrap it up by, telling the people out there, male, female, that might be interested in aviation, what they need to do. But I want to say this. When I was flying as a flight attendant, I rarely saw a black pilot. And when I did, for whatever reason, I would always think about you. I'm like, I wish Darnell should fly. And that's why when you called me that day, I'm like, huh? No, you need to be in the flight deck. Because I had been like, dreaming about you being up there, because I would see all these other young guys like your age, but it was so rare. And then I looked up on Google, it's like 3% of pilots in the US are black. I'm like, but why? So let's take this the end of the show here, this last minute, and just tell people that may be interested in being a pilot or in aviation, what they need to do.
Well, like I say, for me, I went to ATP flight school, fast track program.
Okay.
But if you want to go the college route, you can get you a degree in aviation, get up and go to flight school that way. Sometimes people get up and go through the service. I've seen all three different ways.
Okay.
But the good thing now, when I first started, believe it or not, as a regional pilot, the pay was not good. So the roles have finally started to diversify.
Yes.
And we're making decent money now. You can make 6 figures doing this. And the good thing about it, it might cost you $100,000 or so to get into flight school. But in the first year, you're making $100,000.
That's right.
So
And you're doing what you love.
Outweighs the bad.
Yes.
And again, it's the best office I've had. If you love traveling, it's definitely for you. You know, if you like new adventures, I get up and go on these overnights, and I get to experience different cities, different countries, getting up trying different foods.
Yes.
Just traveling. And one thing I tell people, I bid trips that gives me 30 hours so I can be a whole day in the city. I get up and get on the train. If I'm in New York, if I'm in, I went to, I guess you could say New Orleans. I got up and did swamp tours. I went to Miami, went snorkeling. I do all type of stuff. When I get up and get these overnights, I went skiing, I went snow tubing, took my whole crew with me. Whatever it is, I get a chance to also visit a lot of my college friends. So I enjoy that. I have college friends that are all over the world, and I can land in a city and be like, "What you doing?"
Right.
And they be like,
"I'm here."
Hey. And they'll get up and take me out, let me experience their city, and I just have some amazing times with some amazing crew members.
It's almost, to me, reminds me of the military, which you know I'm a veteran, because you have a chance to go all over the world and experience things that you normally, I always say, to be stuck in Memphis as a young person these days, why? Because there's so much out there in the world to see.
It is.
But I want to say this, Darnell, I think that the worst part for me as a flight attendant, I'm going to close it with this. As a girl, I used to envy with you guys, was because you're a girl, when you're in all these cities like you're talking about, I had to always think about my safety over snorkeling and having, like the guys would get there and we had these long stayovers.
Gone.
And the guys,
gone.
I'm like, and I'm in the room thinking about being a girl, what could happen to me out there.
Yeah, and y'all got to be that way. Y'all really do.
To me, it's like the pilots, boy, they just have a ball. And with me being on the CRJ, I think it's CRJ 700, you're the sole flight attendant. So it's not like you're there with somebody where you can just get with this other flight attendant, you all out in the city. But the pilots always came in pairs. So for that reason, I tell every young lady, if you want to be, because I became a flight attendant in my 50s. So that's aviation is a really good profession to be in. Despite what you might see on TV, everything has a positive and a negative. But being a flight attendant or being a pilot, don't look at yourself as because of your color or your race that certain things are not. You can't do.
We can definitely do it.
Because you are a living witness.
And I see it. It's enough for us. And that's a good thing. It's about exposure. Everything that you can expose yourself to, the more. I love Memphis. And believe it or not, I've been on some places. I've been to even New York, believe it or not. I was in Jay-Z's 40/40 Club.
Okay.
On an overnight with my crew members. And believe it or not, I was like, I'd rather be in Memphis at Love Lounge. It was more exciting. So, but the thing is, you have to get out and experience other things, and that helps you appreciate Memphis. And it also helps you get a variety of different ideas, different exposures, which can help you bring it back to the city as well, because I root for Memphis. So that's the good thing about it. It's so many different people out here that's doing it. You get a chance to, develop these relationships. I have people that tell me, whenever you're in my city, come by. I brought people in that it's the holidays, they might have been working. Y'all can come and eat with me, and when I'm out in another city, I can go and eat with them. So it's a good experience to meet different journeys.
Well, in closing, Darnell Walker, commercial airline pilot, being your auntie, I have never been offered these, I think back in the days we called, I'm going there. I think we called them buddy passes. So now that you're on Let's Talk 901, we're going off the air now, so we're going to talk about this buddy pass thing, right? Okay, anyway, thank you all so much for watching Let's Talk 901. Enjoyed so much my very special guest, Darnell Walker. And I am so proud of him. He is a commercial airline pilot and one of the, I don't know if they're 3% now or 5. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So if you ever thought about being a pilot or a flight attendant or just being in aviation, go for it.
Please.
And have a goal, young people. Have a goal. So Darnell, Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for having me.